It worked.
It worked, Mike.
Pastor Paul.
Mike from around the world. How you doing, Brother Mike?
I'm doing good, doing good. I was just about to dial you. I'm glad that worked.
That worked great.
That's working great.
Well, we got a little censorship going on here, Mike. I tried to put in the title, Breaking News, Apophis 2029, Mike from around the world, and that didn't go over well. 9 times we were denied to go live till we changed the title to Breaking a Positive Message of Energy.
Yeah, unfortunately, that does happen.
Yeah.
That does happen. You know, it's also why when I'm speaking, also, every time I'm speaking, I'll put words like false, made up, things like that. That's called slipping the system.
Slipping the system. Thank you.
Yeah.
You mean like fake words that aren't even real words?
Well, if your content doesn't contain the word fake, made up, or something like that, a computer will key into your conversation. And you begin to talk about keywords, it's going to start washing. The system will. Not so much people, but the system.
Yeah.
So if you slip the system by interjecting words like false and fake and things like made up, fairy tales, just slip them in there. And if you notice when I'm speaking, I'll throw those things in there. It slips the system. It stops a computer from watching your conversation.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you for that information. Folks, we got Mike around the world with us tonight. And Mike, we had an unbelievable conference in Cincinnati, oversold really. And the people were just, they were standing room only. It was amazing. And we talked about potentially we did talk about 5 ways of energy some. A lot of people was very thankful for your work you do. And for when you come on our show, they really enjoy it and love all the information they get. So I wanted to pass that along to you. And also, Clyde Lewis did a great job from Ground Zero. John Moore also did an excellent job talking about the pole shifts from and what the effects of the Earth would be with the pole shifts. Now, Clyde talked about other ancient scripts from the Peruvians, the Mayans, others that, and even in the Bible where it talks about all these different catastrophic events from probably the last time that Nibiru or Planet X or this binary system went around. And then we had Stephen Ben-Noon, who did an excellent job as well, talking about this information he got from that NASA scientist and showed some of the slides and information of it. And one of the things he brought up, Mike, just so you'll know, is a collision. It's called the Jupiter collision. And according to the scientist, there's going to be some type from the waves of energy coming from the binary system. They even use the term Nibiru or Planet X, that it's going to hit Jupiter and there will be a debris that will fly from Jupiter toward Earth. Now, we don't know how much debris will hit Earth or will it just blow up in the skies around us. We don't know if there'll be a deep impact or several, but they have a date. It is set, estimated date for what they call the Jupiter collision impact, and it is March 28th, 2021. They don't know how severe this will be on the Earth, but that this is the projected date. So I wanted to throw it at you and get your feedback on this.
Well, okay, first of all, can everybody hear me okay?
I hear a little bit of static there, Mike, and it'd be good if you could turn it up just a little more. I got you up as loud as I can.
Okay, let me position this thing the right way. Hold on, I have to get the right position here. Okay, what about that? Is that better?
That's much better.
I have to talk directly into the intake here. But regarding inbound bands of energy, pulses of energy, Jupiter, last time we talked, I believe it was the last time, was telling you about Jupiter being the gatekeeper. It, in fact, balances the gravitational pull of the asteroid belt. If something disturbs Jupiter abruptly, it's going to lose it's going to open the gates. It's called opening the gates. So the gates are set to open sometime in the future, very near future. Now, the problem with that is there's no real indication to the average person this will happen. It's one one of those situations where it'll be normal one day, but no one will really warn anybody else about any inbounds of that magnitude. Not the first time. Now remember, we have a lot of rocks out there, a lot of debris, so it will also come in pulses. Now, to my knowledge, it'll be hit more than once. Jupiter will, and it will be highly disturbed, which will unbalance all the gravitational pull and the centric forces in the solar system. Is going to cause the planets to shoot out of their orbits a bit. That's not going to be a good thing. That's near term, actually. The beginning effects to that would be near term, because Jupiter is already being affected. Mars is already being affected. The moon is already being affected. And if you notice, that's why the moon is having all these earthquakes. And Mars is having all these earthquakes. And Venus is having all these earthquakes and eruptions. Things are erupting all over the solar system, right? So it's one of those situations, if you're aware of this, or if you're aware of these things, then that gives you a sober view into what will take place here. But if you're not, that's the type of shock and awe the average person does not want to have in their lives, because they will have no true indication of that. These events are, I just hope, my major hope is that somebody hears, so that they won't be frightened, but also so that they will be armed with the information that, yes, something was going to happen, and the Lord gave it to somebody. And he didn't have us ignorant concerning these events that would come. And we're talking near term, and what we have is an exponential break-off. Estimations, like calculations. I'll give you an example. Last year, there was a calculation that put something out to 2031, right? You know what the date is now? 2022. So, but before that, it was 3046.
So
we have here is, as the observations continue to take place, as things come closer to our solar system, the speed of those projectiles, of those pulses, they're speeding up. They're coming in faster and faster. They're speeding up. So as they get closer, they get faster. I'll put it that way. That should be pretty clear. So then calculations are going to be a bit short than what we think right now.
So this projected date of debris impact to the Earth, called the Jupiter collision, it's a projected date of March 28th, 2021. Now, this was on the little green NASA file. I looked at it myself and saw that the calculations and equations and how they used it. But here's the thing they showed was, what they didn't say is, our audience picked up on this. People went to see what was going to happen on that day. That happens to be Passover, and it also happens to be Palm Sunday.
Yep.
And what are the odds of it being Passover and Palm Sunday? Now, it was on there was no reference to that in the little green. It's a huge file, by the way. It's a little green file, but I'm saying it's a massive file of information. I'm going to have other people look at it, Mike, but I can tell you, your point is this. Yes, you're confirming that there is going to be incoming projectiles. We don't have exact dates on them, but people need to be aware that Jupiter's already been affected. The moon is already having earthquakes, Mars and Venus, that these incoming waves of energy are already shaking the heavens, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And there's some fractured pulses also coming in, which will, one of the issues is this, and I know that people fight disinformation and all these other things, but I can say this: what's popular, that's likely propaganda. What is unpopular, something that's way outside of the box, that's not quite calculated, that's going to catch people by surprise. I'm always anchored on the fact that in prophecy itself, and you speak this often yourself, that people will be caught unawares.
Yeah.
Well, if they're caught unawares, right, they know about an event, but they got the timing wrong.
Right.
Which means it happens sooner than they would like it to happen. They were caught unawares, meaning they were caught unprepared. Right. So I give an example of something. If the governments of the world knew something was going to take place May in 2020, right, they would have to already be prepared. Correct?
Yes.
If they were prepared for May, let's just say May 12, 2020.
Okay.
And they're prepared for that date of May 12, 2020.
Okay.
Well, if something's really going to catch them off guard, then the date is going to have to be a little sooner than May 12, 2020. That would be the projected date. So the impact of what they consider a controllable event, meaning that any fallout on the earth, right, any death, any carnage, any of those things that would happen on the earth on May 12, 2020, they can handle. Well, what I'm saying is because of prophecy, clearly they couldn't handle it. It was bigger than what they thought, is what I'm saying. So some of the calculated events would be an indication that something is going to happen. But even like that green file, which is let's call that a library, is what that is. That's a data library. So that information in there also is being underrated, which means the impact of those events could be much larger and have an impact than they expect. So, but if you were in charge of things and you had people out there in the field, you can't do direct person-person communication all the time because people are always watching, right? They're always watching somebody. You would have to set up some type of a code. So what you would do was you would give a date with the event, but you would not give the magnitude of the event. How would you give them the magnitude? By correlating the entertainment industry. Now this is going to sound wild. The entertainment industry, right, with that specific event to express the magnitude of it. Because if you can't be in contact with somebody, you can't update their code language. So you have to speak to them like you would speak to everybody else. It will be up to them to find out what the event is, right, and the date. It will be up to them to look into the entertainment field, that's an example, to see what the magnitude of that event is. And if you watch for that pattern, you're going to see some truth in that. Not the movies themselves, but the specific events. Because in most media outlets, there's always, and there will always be a story about something that's wild. And there will always be some type of magnitude, speculative magnitude of that event connected to it, and then the story goes away. Nobody cares about this stuff. But if you were trying to inform your individuals out there in the field of these events without going through any predefined channels, you could do so very easily.
So it's coded. Yeah, you're using code by using the entertainment industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so obviously we're seeing some of that going on right now. There's been quite a few. I mean, there's a lot of movies out right now about different types of catastrophic, apocalyptic events the Earth's going to go through. Citizen containment seems to be another area. We're hearing about all the FEMA camps. You know, John Moore brought up a pole shift now that because he set in on those 1979 U.S. Army intelligence meetings that had to do with Planet X or the binary system. He said they told him that, look, we're going to be building underground cities under Denver. We're going to be moving major personnel. We're going to setting up for cities for people to go there to get the lottery ticket. And also, they told all the officers to go ahead when you retire in the Ozark Mountains. You know, and they told them exactly where to go. And there's a high concentration of retired U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine high brass, all retiring in the same area, very high population area there in the Ozarks. So they're giving them an idea, Mike, what's coming. They're not giving the total story, but we're getting a lot more information now, and we're getting more and more events taking place. So, in your opinion, is this thing, I mean, when we talk about the Jupiter debris that's coming, the collision of Jupiter and this debris, do you see this being catastrophic or more of a just, there's no doubt about you can't deny something's going on?
Well, to be honest with you, it does not matter. It's going to start a chain of events that nobody can end. It doesn't matter whether it's slight or not. Anytime if Jupiter's gravity is disturbed, right? If it is. Now, they recorded something during an impact on Jupiter already. And they saw the fluctuations in the gravity and what it caused, but they didn't tell anybody. There was a real effect on the other planets, the other larger planets. There was a real effect on the Earth. They didn't tell a soul. So then we know that minute changes in gravity, the electromagnetism of Jupiter itself, any disruption in its gravitational pull throws the entire solar system out of balance Jupiter is the gatekeeper. Without Jupiter, we would be hit by everything every day. Not from that asteroid belt, but by objects coming in. Jupiter is so heavy, it's so massive, that it attracts much of what would come into the inner solar system. So it takes care of it, right? So if it were disturbed, and you have an asteroid belt, it's like this. Jupiter is one side of a seesaw, right? The sun and the way things are positioned, the Earth and Mars and all those planets are on the other side. They're in perfect balance. In the middle, you have a bunch of eggs. Or let's just say a bunch of bowling balls in the middle. Well, if Jupiter loses some of its mass, all those bowling balls are coming towards the inner solar system, right? Now, those in the center, right there, the fulcrum in the center, right, where people understand, everybody knows what a fulcrum is, but right there is your balance point of a bunch of debris. If Jupiter fluctuates just a little bit, all that junk that's been held in position for who knows how long is going to be cast right into the center of the solar system, in which case it does not matter if it's slight or major, because any change is going to cause a cascading effect. And then you have the inner planets, right, being thrown off of their orbits. The Earth is absolutely, it's going to be thrown outside of its orbit. Our orbit is not going to remain the same.
What?
This is something that people, there are a lot of folks sometimes are thinking, Pascal, it's not quite right. I'll give you an example. We assume throughout the apocalypse that all the positions on the Earth somehow is going to maintain its position, and everything else may go out of whack, but not the Earth. We don't normally think in terms that the Earth also will be thrown out of its orbit. So it's going to have more of an oval orbit, right? In that respect, our weather patterns are gone. There's no guarantees. Prediction about weather is gone. The winds, we'll have the winds of some of these other outer planets, because inertia plays its role in an oval circulating orbit. So when you have something in some type of an oval orbit, you have a period where the winds are calm, the surface winds are calm. You have at least the majority of that year where the winds are outrageous. And then you have 2 points of that year where the winds destroy everything. Nothing will be able to.
Now we got.
Will be able to stand.
We heard a couple things. Clyde Lewis said that the information is out there. He said he remembered when his wife was growing up as a child. She lived near Mount St. Helens. It exploded in 1980, and he said the gravitational pull that Nibiru or Planet X will cause upon the planet will probably soon cause Mount St. Helens to awaken and start to spew again and start to erupt again. And he said this on Saturday, and yesterday we had Mount St. Helens erupting and releasing quite a bit of smoke and ash and debris. I mean, he said it, and 3 days later it happened. I'll give you another one. I want to get your question. Do you think that the 5 ways of energy is causing that? The other one, or is it the magnetic field, whatever? We had the sun on Saturday, actually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. There was 4 massive explosions on the sun coming out of one sunspot area directly at the Earth. And we're in a solar minimum, so what's causing that? And then the next thing is this. We had John Moore and Stephen Ben-Noon both say that the Gulf Stream, not the jet stream, but the Gulf Stream stopped on June the 12th, 2010. And that is creating and wreaking havoc in our weather patterns. So what is your take on Mount St. Helens? What's your take on the Gulf Stream has stopped? And, what about the other issue? I forgot what it was now, but the
sun.
The sun.
We discussed the sun. Remember, we discussed the sun a couple shows ago, I believe it was.
Yes.
And I was telling you that even though it's at solar minimum, don't be surprised of sporadic activity out of the sun, right?
Yep.
Because we're solar minimum, I said don't be surprised.
Yep.
Because those are the pulses coming in affecting the sun.
Yes.
Right? The sun is, don't be shocked. Nobody should be shocked if you have, there's a phenomenon with the sun. People are familiar with CMEs. People are familiar with solar flares and things like that. They're not familiar with ring bursts. And I think that they're going to have to find some terminology to give that. It does do that. It'll be a ring burst. It'll look like a ring, right? Be quite large, but it'll be a burst, almost like a solar flare. But
What?
a burst. And so they're going to have to give a name for this. Now, when people see this, that's directly caused by a specific charge in these cosmic rays that are penetrating the heliosphere coming into our solar system. And so that would be that's an effect of that, because we have not seen this. That's not been recorded. It's been theorized, not recorded.
So you're calling it a ring burst, like a ring of fire,
a ring burst,
like a ring of fire.
Yeah, kind of like that, a ring burst. Yeah, a ring, just a big circle, right? I mean, a huge circle, right? Not some small little flare, one little scar in the sun, not one little hole in the sun, but a ring. You begin to notice a phenomenon with a ring. These are physical things people can see. They're going to report it. People will see it. So when you see it, just understand it's because we have highly exotic particles coming in if they're penetrating the heliosphere, coming into the solar system. And this happens not all the time. We haven't had this in our lifetime. It's theorized, right? But it's never happened. So not in our lifetime. So when you see this, it shouldn't be a shock, because I know a lot of people will say, well, it's a Stargate opening up. No, it's a ring burst, right? As far as the other stuff, I don't know. But it is a ring burst. That will keep everybody in their right frame of mind. Also, the phenomenon with the sun, in reaction to these exotic particles, there's a real chemical change in the sun taking place, and it continues to take place. The brightness of the sun is becoming extremely immense. It really is. Now, I sat down and talked to some folks who do photography, and every single year they're finding out that their polar, their filters or their cameras are producing different results, because a computer can measure the luminance and colors and all that. Well, they're having to really tune their when they do videos and things like that, they're having to adjust everything. Some of the filtering algorithms that worked last year do not work this year. So there you go. The sun's brightness is changing because the chemistry is actually changing, and all this is happening from an external force. Because not only is the sun changing, but Jupiter is also being affected, right? Venus is also being affected. The larger planets are also being affected. Soon, they won't be able to hide these strange phenomena in the atmosphere caused by the sun and the interactions with our atmosphere. But it gives people an idea that, hey, these happenings are real. My hope is this. My hope is that people will not throw caution to the wind, and that every single day of their lives, that they will understand that that could be their day of departure. And if they just throw caution to the wind at any given moment, let their guard down, there are worse things out there than the destruction of the earth, right? Worse things. And I think that they're starting to uncover that now with the ice caps. So,
okay.
Having said that, to keep people aware, right? It keeps people to watch. Hopefully people watch. Hopefully people get in the mindset that their time can be up at any time, right?
Yes.
That's going to be their revelation, their time of departure. They can't change anything once they're gone. But these events is almost like a wake-up call. It's almost like the Lord saying to us, prophecy is not a joke.
No.
No matter who scoffs and laughs at it, prophecy is not. Let them scoff, let them laugh. But
That's
don't
not.
endure
That's
the
not.
penalty of non-belief, And so all these events that are happening will surely be a wake-up call very soon. And they're taking place now, but they're not yet where everybody can see them. You won't need a telescope. You won't need any special NVG optics. You're going to see it in the daytime, and the nighttime is going to scare people. It will be the real, what they call fear-mongering event, right? These changes in the heavens and instabilities. Because that one, the one scripture, the powers of the heavens will be shaken.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Can I say this one more time? When I look at that scripture, this is just me. When I look at that scripture, the powers of the heavens will be shaken. I say, okay, so the Lord's going to shake the powers of the heavens. So what happens when he's not shaking the powers of the heavens? And the one word hits my mind is stability.
Yes.
Right? The same constellations in the same place all the time, but if the powers of heaven are shaken, then the power that holds them in position, the constant forces, right?
Yes.
The interactions and everything being in such stability that we can forecast seasons. We have a clock, we can do things. All that's going to be thrown out of whack. All that will be let go. I believe that instead of people saying, well, the odds of something hitting us are 1 in a million, the truth is, the odds of us not being hit is 1 in a million.
Right.
Things are too numerous. And we're to all these near misses. Who has that many near misses, right? I can't even have that with birds. If I put on a uniform or a suit or something like that, go out, you have to dodge birds because you know what happened. So, near misses? No, I don't believe that.
Well, Mike,
Too long.
Mike, as you say, the Bible says that where there's going to be at least 2 deep impacts, it's going to wipe out about 1/3 of the planet's population, the ships of the sea, the fish in the ocean. It's going to be catastrophic. There's no doubt about it. And you just heard Mike say it, folks. The day is coming. The heavens are going to be shaking. They are shaking already. It's affecting the sun. It's affecting the moon. It's affecting Venus and Mars and the Earth and Jupiter. And it's going on. Folks, I want to make a quick announcement. Yes, if you want to you heard Mike say this, if the heavens are shaking, if you want to get the DVD, Brock, put it up on the screen for just a second. But it's the Cincinnati Conference, which was phenomenal. The DVD, get your order in right now for your copy of it. It's 4 hours of prophetic revelation and intelligence and information with Stephen Ben-Danoon, Clyde Lewis, John Moore, and myself. The entire Cincinnati Conference right there. You don't want to miss this. Great information, tremendous information. And Mike has literally been spearheading, and a lot of what he has said has been confirmed by these guys. Mike, a couple questions here. The moon is shrinking. According to the scientists, according to NASA and according to others, the moon has shrinked about 11% in the last 50 years, which I'm just, since let me just say this, since 50 years, Apollo 11, the size of the moon has shrunk. They're saying it's acting like a grape, like a raisin. Is there something? Is the waves of energy affecting it? Is the moon built differently than the Earth? Is there some type of hollowness in the inside? Can you give us a clue by what they're saying here?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't believe that the moon coalesced from the Earth. I don't believe that. I just don't believe it. Nor do I believe that the Earth coalesced from a bunch of molten rock that settled in together and formed a planet. I don't believe that either.
Okay, I don't either.
I believe that both are fashioned because both the Earth and the moon and all the other planets have seams around them, right?
Right.
They're welded together.
Yes.
They also have geometric structures at the poles on every single planet. No one will allow anyone to look at the North and South Pole directly. We always get the smudged imagery, the public, right? Of all the planets. Why do they block that out? Why not just show that? Because they're not going to show it. Because they're never going to prove any one religion right. If it does not fit their paradigm of Darwin's theory of evolution, they will not show it because that would cause a war in the world the same day that happened. It would also demoralize many different civilizations. And if you demoralize the people, well, then your motor just stopped working, right? And if you have a motor in a car that does not work, the car is no good, no matter how good it looks. Anyway, they're not going to do that. I don't believe the moon faces us. Now, I'll say this one more time. Think about this, Pastor Paul. How in the world, with all the debris, right, with all the projectiles that have come in over thousands of years, how in the world does the moon still face towards us? It still stays in the precise orbit it was the year before. No fluctuation.
Right.
That several scientists have tried to come forth saying, wait a minute, something is happening here, that the moon is making adjustments. Throughout the day it's making adjustments, right? So why is the moon making adjustments? Now you have reports that the moon is shrinking, but it's making adjustments, right? All the time. The same side facing us all the time.
Always.
The opposite side of the moon stays out there. Now, a lot of people have an argument, well, that's because of the gravitational pull on the Earth. Yes, but we know that through the Earth's rotation, that its gravitational pull changes throughout the year.
Yeah.
That would mean, see, now, if the Earth never, ever moved, or if it rotated spherically perfectly, and the weight was not distributed or changed, meaning that the oceans and the rock layer were precisely the same all over the earth, and I would believe it. I don't believe that for a second, though, because if you take the waters away from the earth looks like a deformed rock, is what it looks
Right.
like. You put the oceans back in there, which have a different density than rock, and then you have, this spherical picture. It's not really spherical, it's kind of smashed out, but what I'm saying is that the forces on the earth interacting with the moon are unstable. They're just not stable enough to keep the moon in a type of...
Well, then how does the moon stay there then?
Well, then there you go. That's why I don't believe it coalesced out of some molten rock that was ejected from the earth. Even the material...
It's a grand design.
...different from the earth.
It's a grand design. There's a hand of God. It's the hand of God.
That's right. That's the whole thing. And to understand the universe, or anybody out there, start to understand the inside of your body. Right? Understand the inside of your body. Because your body, everything in your body is out there, and everything out there is in your body. Everything. So it works the same way. God's design is consistent. Just like he said, I'm the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Because he's so consistent, then his design is going to be consistent, not erratic. Right? Not random. I don't believe in random things. I believe in purpose things. I cannot believe in random things anymore.
No,
right?
no.
Actually, I should be dead one too many times. So that's off the books. And other people should be dead. That's off the books. All
right, now, Mike, we got to, for time's sake, a couple things. Kevin Wilson has just arrived, folks, in right there in Industry, Texas area. Kevin Wilson and the Kevin Wilson Band is there getting ready for tomorrow night's Texas Two-Step Revival. I'm still here in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm doing a television show tomorrow on VTN with Happy Caldwell. As soon as I'm done with taping that and have lunch, Heidi and I will be jumping on a plane, flying down to Houston, and we will arrive during that live revival service. At some point, we will come in, and we'll just come straight in from the airport and be ready to preach the Word of God. That's coming tomorrow night. And then all day Saturday, of course, the event will go on, the Texas Two-Step Revival, Texas Barbecue, everything else. The Rankin Ministry's putting this on. Guys, everybody head to Industry, Texas. Mike, quick question here. Things are really shaking up here. Apophis. We know that Apophis is coming. We know that everywhere now, there's articles are starting to pop up everywhere. Apophis, Brock, if you put that picture up of the Earth when all those satellites are rotating around the Earth satellites are about 22 to 23,000 miles. They circle the Earth. There it is. Apophis will come inside of all those satellites and be within 19,000 miles of the Earth, Mike. So there's a shot. This thing is 4.5 football fields in diameter. It has a real chance at hitting some asteroids on its way in. And then again, it's 10 years from now, Mike. Do they have this calculation precisely right? Do you feel confident about that? Good about that?
No, I don't. I really don't. I think it's pushed too far out. I do. And I think there are other dangers in between that time that people may not worry about Apophis at all. I really do. There are too many objects that are coming close to us just about every 2 weeks. Right, near misses just about every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Some they publicize, some they don't, but they end up documenting them and logging. Right, this is every 2 weeks. So you're looking at 10 years out. That's too far. That's too far. I would be a little more concentrated on what would happen within the next 2 years. That's where my concentration would be, because that would give us a good indication if things are still like this within the next year. Which is that's becoming very slim every single day. Well, what I'm saying is, Pastor Paul, is that not only the effects of this influx of radiation coming into the solar system, not only is it going to affect the large bodies, planets in our solar system, it will affect the sun and the earth, but also it's going to affect biology in a big way. It will affect biology. Well, if it affects biology, specifically the mind, the brain, then we can expect more violence in this earth. A lot more violence. Right? Even now, some of those things are coming to pass with a low birth rate, with more diseases that they can't identify yet. The CDC is running all over the place. They're overtasked right now. And that's not including the measles. I'm not talking about the measles outbreak. That's not what's tasking them. Evidently, something is happening in the oceans. And some of the, it's very cold in certain parts of the ocean. Those cold parts that were once kind of iced up, it's very cold. Things were dormant. They're warming up, right? So then all the currents in the ocean, right? You can't really call them currents. You have to call them something else because the salinity is changing rapidly. Life is changing in the oceans. Much of the life we're aware of is dying, and then other life forms that were once thought extinct are beginning to be found. 14 more extinct species were found in the last month. They were seen, documented by scientists. They're back in the books. They're not extinct anymore. Well, where are they coming from? I believe that this barrier ocean, just like we have an atmosphere, we can't breathe above the atmosphere. Neither can certain biological life forms breathe above a certain layer in the ocean, because there's an ocean within the ocean, right? And the ocean is split into two segments. There's a layer below the ocean of which no real ocean life can survive. But there are things down there. And with the weather going the way it's going, it's churning up things. We have a lot of activity in the oceans. And some things that have been alive for a long time are not being seen.
Mike?
We have all these things happening. A conflagration of events that are really going to begin to stress people out. And which is why my only anchor that I have in truth, it would not be the scientists. I mean, God bless certain people out there for doing their best to track things and to watch things, because possibly the Lord put it upon their hearts to do this. So I never go against them, but prophecy has to be my anchor, because everything else has failed.
Mike, now, if I was to ask you, of course, the Lord hasn't given us the spirit of fear, but of power, given us love and power and a sound mind. But with this binary system, this wormwood system, Nibiru, Planet X, the Goblin, Planet Number 9, call what you want to. If I had to ask you these 6 questions, which of these 6 do you are most concerned about? Besides, I'll give it 7. Are you more concerned about earthquakes in the next 5 years, or volcanoes, or asteroid impacts, or the pole shift and the rising sea waters, or the radiation levels on the planet, or wildfires burning out of control, or people's minds becoming like lunatics or possessed?
Number 1 on my list right now.
Yep.
People's minds.
Oh, jeez.
Number two, a celestial event that will set off a lot of volcanoes.
A celestial event that sets off volcanoes.
Yeah, a lot of volcanoes.
Okay, number 2.
As for the rest, I think they're going to be tied together. Here's what I say about people's minds, Pastor Paul, and I know it's a weird subject, but I know that people do a lot of preparation mentally for other events like asteroids and things they can't see. When you look at the world and when you interact with the world, you begin to see that people have become quite violent. Even the Christians are having a hard time maintaining their sense of peace. When the Christians find it difficult to maintain their sense of peace, the world, they don't have a chance. And because of this, cooler heads are not going to prevail. Now, we're going to see this in the near term, possibly weeks. Cooler heads will not prevail. This violence is going to be real. It's going to cause nations to react, which is why everybody's staging right now. Every national leader has a complaint. You know what it is? They're losing the confidence and the trust of their people.
Yeah.
And they're losing that confidence and trust, meaning that people are going to take things under their own power. They're going to begin to do things, and if they do it in numbers, who can stop them? You even have low morale in the militaries of the earth. When low morale hits a soldier, he no longer, his care for the mission, it begins to decrease. And his care for his family and other things is in a type of fog or confusion. That low morality can really cause some severe global issues. Large instabilities, which is why NORTHCOM is fully, well, let's just say NORTHCOM is ready to go, right? Civil Defense Forces are ready to go. they must contain Iran, right? One way or the other. But that's a contingency more than anything. That doesn't mean war. That's a contingency. And Saudi Arabia, I've said this before, they're going to be wiped off the face of the earth. I strongly believe that. They're just not going to be here.
What?
But a contingency overseas, what's happening overseas is unprecedented. What's happening with China and Russia right now is unprecedented.
Who's Mike, who's going to wipe Saudi Arabia off the face of the earth?
I don't believe Saudi Arabia is going to be on the earth because they have refused to publicize the true strength and power of these nations around the world. And a lot of the news and a lot of what's released, Pastor Paul, they give people propaganda. And it's understandable because you don't want to cause a national conflict of things, right?
Is it because of the Black Stone? Do you think that let's say the Iranians, are they going to bomb and blow up the Black Stone? Is that part of it?
Well, I would say a large part of it has to do with faith, right?
Okay.
And the other part of it has to do with their key individuals who will always have their groups in power. And they have made a vow, and they're serious about the vow. They're not playing around. These are the same individuals. Well, we know about suicide bombers.
Yep.
Well, they would be considered babies among these other folks. They have done things that, if a person knew about them, all you can do is cry. If you knew how they looked at humanity and you can't even say these people are human. Okay, they don't have remorse. They don't have feelings. They don't care what they do to other people. And they will do it without hesitation. They'll do what's necessary to achieve their goals.
Right.
These people operate like they're non-human, like they're not even human. They have no compassion, but they make suicide bombers. And the worst crime you can think of is nothing compared to these folks. And there are thousands of them, tens of thousands of them in key positions out there. And they have amassed a force. Another problem is Iran's missile systems are too numerous. They can overwhelm just about anything. And we don't have enough Patriot missiles. We don't have enough intercept missiles to block all of that. So that's carnage to have a conflict with those folks. If they unleash certain things, they've got so much underground that nobody can see. And if they unleash things, that's a problem. And Saudi Arabia is going to have to go their way. They're going to leave. If they vow to destroy Israel, then Saudi Arabia must go first because they're going to stand in the way.
I see.
Their faith sees Saudi Arabia as a harlot.
Yeah.
That's how they see them, as a harlot.
Yep.
And Jordan's going to be forced to rethink everything it's doing. Everything it's doing. So, but we have too much nuclear firepower over there that they will unleash on their own people. They have no problem doing that. Saddam Hussein was motivated by the same individuals I'm speaking of, and we all know what he did, putting people in meat grinders, all these different things that he did some horrific things, but even that does not compare to these folks in Iran. And if they're put in power, one of the problems is some of these folks are in Russia also, right? Russia's going to have a severe problem with these same forces. So in order for, and I'm always...
You're talking about Chechnya. You're talking about Chechnya.
Jerusalem is trampled underfoot.
I know.
What happened to the allies of Israel? What stops us from stopping anybody from going into Israel? So that's not a good picture. That's a very real picture. It's something that I know it's not popular.
Mike, isn't that us? I mean, isn't it coming down to the United States? Isn't it down to us?
Yeah, you know what? I believe. I'll give you a picture of something. I believe that all too often it happens in our lives. Before any of us totally devoted our lives to Christ, we had to get beat up first, didn't we? Life had to beat us up a little bit. Before we hit that point where we said, no, I see now. I'm gonna go straight with the Lord on this one, right? So sometimes we have to get hit in the head with a hammer in life to actually take our faith seriously, right?
Yeah.
So imagine the nations. Sometimes, in order to get a nation to work as a unit, in order for a nation to be truly blessed, they must take a fall first. They must understand and remember what it is to be a nation of discord, to not have their luxuries, to not have that seat of power. They must be dethroned so that they can pick themselves up and work together with the other nations. I believe in the end, well, I know what's going to happen in the end according to the Word of God, but I also believe that the majority of the Christians, I know where they are. We have a lot in the United States, and Russia has a lot of Christians. They have a lot of Christians.
Yeah, they do.
So you're looking at an end result of allied forces, right, coming together to rid the world of all the other philosophies under the banner of belief in Christ Jesus. That's the end result that I can see every time. You know how you try to see what's going to happen. You know, you're not declaring anything, but sometimes you just see this one end result. And I see that Russia's going to have a problem. We're going to have a problem. But the end result is going to be we're going to dig down at our roots, begin to remember what this nation is all about. They're going to remember what their nation is all about. They're going to remember the grace of God, right? The nations will believe again, come together, and that will be an establishment that will overthrow everything. And we're talking about an establishment by faith. It'll be by faith. Because even in the Word of God, it's the saints that possess the kingdoms of this earth. Right? But we know where those saints are. We know where the majority of them are. And we know where the evil sits, right? And so these times are very interesting, but they're also all too real. And we see the formation of these things, slowly taking place now. The outbreak, because if Jerusalem is trampled underfoot, prior to the beast being acknowledged, well, then something has to happen to the U.S. and Israel's allies prior to that time of the beast rising. So
powerful.
That means we ought to stay awake here. We don't know if that's going to be a celestial happen. We don't know if that's going to be a natural disaster. We don't know what that's going to be. But what we can say is that somehow we were not able to keep that unholy alliance from setting up their capital in Jerusalem for
Mike,
2.5 years.
Tremendous dialogue here tonight. I want to make sure I can book you, if it's possible, for next Thursday night, the 23rd. Heidi, everything should be okay on that date for you?
Yes, 23rd.
23rd.
I'm going to put this down so I can...
Yep. All right. Folks, you heard it here. So next Thursday night, May 23rd, we're going to bring Mike back again to get more information on these issues that are taking place from around the world. And Mike, I truly appreciate, I know you've got a very busy schedule. I really appreciate you coming on and being with us tonight. Thank you so much, brother.
Pastor Paul.
God bless you. God bless you. God bless. Thank you so much. All right, folks, that's Mike from around the world.